Andalus, which today includes parts of Spain and Portugal, was once an important part of the Roman Empire. After the Roman Empire fell, around the 5th century AD, this area was taken over by a German tribe called the Visigoths. The Visigoths were Christians and made Christianity the official religion. They tried to control the religious and political life of Andalus according to their wishes. However, the Visigoth rule did not stay strong for long. There was a lot of political chaos and internal conflict during their time. Different tribes and families fought for the throne, which made the government weak and disrupted order. Also, religious intolerance was common. They did not accept other groups, and only Christianity was considered important. This unstable political and strict religious situation weakened Andalus, which made it easier for Muslims to attack and conquer it in 711 AD. Let's see how bad Andalus was before Islam, and how Islamic influence made it the greatest center of knowledge and culture in the world. Situation of Andalus. Before Islam. Before Islam, Andalus was part of the Roman Empire, but later came under the control of the Germanic tribe called the Visigoths. The Visigoths ruled this area and made Christianity their religion. But their rule was full of problems and chaos. Fighting over the throne and internal disputes were common, which made the government weak and unstable. There were also strict religious rules, especially against Jews and other groups, and Catholic Christianity was made the official religion. Education and knowledge suffered a lot at that time. Education was mostly limited to religious leaders or special church members. Ordinary people, especially women and poor people, did not get a chance to learn. Most of the old Greek and Roman knowledge was lost or banned. Because of this, there was no progress in learning, and there were no big schools or universities in Andalus. Socially, there was a lot of injustice. A small group, including the king, religious leaders, and nobles, controlled the country's wealth and power. Ordinary people like farmers, workers, and slaves struggled in daily life. Women had no rights to own property or freedom and often faced oppression. Farming was old-fashioned, and land was owned by a few rich people, making poor farmers' lives worse. Trade was weak, and the economy was unstable. Medicine and science were also in bad shape. People treated diseases mostly with prayers, spiritual methods, or superstitions. There was no modern medical knowledge or research. Astronomy, math, and other sciences were not developed. The military was weak too because the Visigoth army was not organized, and internal chaos had ruined the defense system. For these reasons, Muslims were able to conquer Andalus easily in 711 AD with only a few thousand soldiers. So before Islam, Andalus was a place with unstable politics, religious intolerance, decline in education and science, social injustice, and economic problems. But when Muslims came, they changed everything and turned Andalus into a center of knowledge, culture, justice, and progress. Andalus, after Islam. The credit for conquering Andalus usually goes to Tariq bin Ziyad, a famous Muslim commander. This conquest started in 711 AD, when Tariq bin Ziyad landed on the coast of Europe from a small island called Jabal Tariq in the Mediterranean Sea. Under Tariq bin Ziyad's leadership, the Muslims defeated the weak and divided Visigoth army. After that, Musa bin Nusayr, another important Muslim commander, continued the conquest and brought the whole region under Muslim rule. Because of their combined efforts, a large part of Andalus came under Muslim control and later became known as the Umayyad Caliphate of Andalus. During the Islamic period, the city of Cordoba was one of the largest and most advanced cities in the world. Huge libraries were built there with millions of books, which were unmatched anywhere else at that time. The Great Mosque of Cordoba was famous for its beauty and architecture, and the city became a global center for philosophy, medicine, astronomy, mathematics, and literature. Muslim rulers took special care of their people's religious freedom. Besides Muslims, Jews and Christians lived peacefully and had the freedom to practice their religions. This period is called convivencia, meaning tolerance and harmony. This tolerance allowed people from different religions and cultures to work and learn together, which helped scientific and artistic progress. Many educational institutions and schools were established in Andalus, where subjects like philosophy, medicine, math, astronomy, and law were taught. Muslim scholars like Ibn Rushd, Ibn Zuhr, and Al-Zahrawi made a deep impact not only in the Islamic world, but also in Europe. They revived Greek philosophy, introduced new principles in medicine and surgery, and made important achievements in astronomy. Social life also improved. Women got better rights under the principles of justice and fairness. The poor and needy were helped, and efforts were made to spread education. The economy got better because new farming methods were introduced and trade increased. Compared to other parts of Europe, Andalus became richer and more developed. The Muslims also strengthened Andalus militarily, making it a strong fortress compared to other parts of Europe. They built castles, mosques, markets, and palaces, many of which still exist today. So after Islam, Andalus not only became stronger politically and militarily, but also reached great heights in knowledge, culture, and civilization. The achievements of this period laid the foundation for the European Renaissance in later centuries. And even today, the history of Andalus is seen worldwide as a great heritage of learning. Famous Muslim scholars in Andalus. When Islam reached the land of Andalus, something more powerful than swords arrived: the pen. A civilization was born that showed dark Europe the path of knowledge and wisdom. This was a time when Muslims were not just conquerors, but teachers, researchers, and bright lights that changed the world. Islamic Andalus was famous not only for its government, architecture, and culture, but also for the shining lights of knowledge and science. Many great Muslim scholars, scientists, philosophers, and doctors emerged here whose knowledge laid the foundation for the European Renaissance. Among them, the most famous name is Ibn Rushd Averroes, who was born in Cordoba. He was a great philosopher, doctor, and lawyer. Ibn Rushd not only translated Aristotle's philosophy into Arabic, but also gave explanations that deeply influenced European scholars. His books were translated into Latin and Hebrew and were studied in European universities for centuries. Similarly, Ibn Zuhr was a famous doctor who researched heart diseases, skin problems, and stomach illnesses. He laid the foundation of modern surgery and performed experiments on humans, which was a great achievement for that time. His scientific work later became part of European medical studies. Abbas ibn Firnas is still remembered today because he was the first person in the world to try flying. He designed a flying machine by studying birds' wings and jumped from a hill to test it. Although he was not fully successful, this is considered the world's first physical flight and later became a basic principle of aviation. Al-Zahrawi, Abul Qasis, is called the father of surgery. He wrote a great medical book called Al-Tasrif, an encyclopedia consisting of 30 volumes. In it, he described more than 200 surgical instruments and treatment methods. This book remained a core part of medical education in Europe for centuries. Ibn Bajjah, Avampas, was also a famous philosopher and scientist who tried to harmonize Aristotle's philosophy with Islamic thought. He presented ideas about intellect, soul, and the universe that influenced many later Islamic and Western philosophers. Although Ibn Khaldun was not born in Andalus, his ideas had a great impact on Andalus and the entire Muslim world. He is considered the founder of sociology, history, and economics. His famous book, Muqaddimah, is still regarded as one of the most important sociological and historical works in the world, and is called the foundation of modern sociology in Europe. Educational institutions in Muslim Spain, Al-Andalus. Islamic Spain was not just about grand palaces and magnificent mosques. It was a land where the lamps of knowledge, research, and education were lit so brightly that they showed the world a new path to wisdom and learning. It was home to such great libraries, schools, and universities that they awakened a sleeping Europe. Do you know where the first light of Europe's greatest universities came from? In this video, we will take you through the remarkable educational centers of Islamic Spain, where the foundations of philosophy, medicine, science, and the arts were laid. See how Muslims built institutions in Spain that paved the way for Europe's Renaissance. Subscribe and stay with us to explore more golden chapters of Islamic history. First University of Cordoba, Jamia Cordoba. Cordoba was the most famous center of learning in Al-Andalus. Counted among the oldest universities in the world, it was a beacon of knowledge and the arts, attracting students from across the globe. Its library held more than 400,000 books. Yes, 400,000. At a time when most European kings couldn't even read or write, subjects like medicine, mathematics, philosophy, law, astronomy, and many others were taught here at the highest level. 2. Granada School, Mudarsa Granada. The Granada School was not just a place for education. It was a beautiful garden of fine arts, architecture, medicine, philosophy, and literature, where the fragrance of wisdom spread in every direction. The teachers here combined Islamic and Greek knowledge and gave birth to a scientific way of thinking. 3. Toledo Translation School, Jamia Talitola. This was a remarkable example of religious harmony, where Muslim, Jewish, and Christian scholars worked together to translate Arabic books into Latin. These very translations became the first steps of the European Renaissance. Through this institution, the works of Aristotle, Galen, Ibn Rushd, Averroes, and Ibn Sina, Avicenna reached Europe. The University of Seville was unmatched in fields like mathematics, astronomy, medicine, law, and philosophy. Students came not only from the Arab world, but also from Europe to study here. This university gave the world many famous scientists, philosophers, and legal scholars. When Europe was trapped in an age of darkness, Al-Andalus was the lamp of light. Muslims laid the foundation of a civilization here where knowledge and wisdom, science and philosophy, research and literature all flourished together. Al-Andalus was not just about palaces, gardens, and mosques. It was an intellectual revolution that guided Europe's closed mindset toward free and enlightened thinking. Arabic books, philosophical ideas, scientific research, and educational institutions became a part of Europe's foundation. Algebra, zero, trigonometry, medicine, and astronomy all entered Europe through Al-Andalus. These were the very lights from which the European Renaissance began to dawn. But sadly, that Al-Andalus, which was once a beacon of knowledge and art, has now become just a symbol of ancient ruins. Those libraries are abandoned, those schools have gone silent, and those buildings are now just attractions for tourists' cameras. Today, Spain is a modern European country, but the traces of Islam that once enlightened the world have been erased. Muslims, who were once teachers and scholars, are now strangers in that land. Yet, history never stays silent. It keeps reminding us that rise and fall lie in human hands. If we once again choose knowledge, research and education as our tools, civilizations like Al-Andalus can be born again. Because Al-Andalus is not just a memory of the past, it is a message. Nations that embrace knowledge are the ones the world respects.